Have you ever wondered what really goes through a narcissist's mind the moment they realize they're never coming back? Let me tell you this, what terrifies them the most isn't when you walk away. It's not when you block their number, delete their contact, or disappear from social media. No, the real nightmare begins when they understand, deep down in their subconscious, that the door is shut for good. No detours, no second chances, no game left to play. Because for a narcissist, control isn't just part of the relationship, it is the relationship. That's how they feel important, valuable, and safe. And all the time they were with you, they clung to one belief. No matter what happens, I can always come back. That was their safety net, their lifeline, the little voice in their head whispering, no matter how bad I screw up, they'll forgive me. No matter how far I push, they'll always let me in. But then you do what they never expected. You end it completely, permanently, with no cracks left open. And that's when their whole world collapses. Suddenly, the chessboard they thought they'd always control just disappears. And the worst part? They lose without even making the final move. This is where the panic kicks in. Not because they love you deeply, don't get it twisted. If love were the reason, you wouldn't have suffered so much in the first place. The truth is scarier. They're terrified because, for the first time ever, they've lost their power. And here's the kicker, just when you think the story is over, in their mind, a new chapter begins. They start obsessing over 1,000 questions. What made you strong enough to walk away? Who gave you that kind of confidence? Is there any loophole I can find to get back in? But don't mistake this for genuine remorse. No, these questions aren't born from guilt. They come from an obsession to reclaim control. They analyze every detail like a detective, all with one goal: to pry open the door you slammed shut. And when they finally realize that's impossible, their psyche goes into freefall. Today we're pulling back the curtain on this hidden reality. You're going to find out what really happens inside a narcissist's head when you cut them off completely, and why your silence is more powerful than any argument you could ever make. You'll understand why they can't let go, why they still watch you in secret, and why, even with someone new by their side, they can't erase your name from their mind. Most importantly, by the end of this video, you'll see something crystal clear. Saying enough isn't just ending a toxic relationship, it's stepping into the strongest version of yourself, the one where peace is no longer up for negotiation. So, if you've ever doubted your decision, or if you want to know what's really happening on the other side, stay with me. What you're about to hear might change the way you see them, and yourself. You know, a lot of people believe that once they block a narcissist, the story ends right there. They think, it's over, from now on everything will be peaceful. But the truth is, that's only the surface. For a normal person, the end means both people walk away and start new lives. But for a narcissist, the ending is never that simple. Because to them, this isn't about love, it's about a game where, in their mind, they always have to win. And when you cut off contact, you're not just leaving a relationship, you're destroying an entire belief system they've built for themselves. This creates a massive void, a chaos in their mind that they have no idea how to handle. So, what happens next? What do they think about you when they realize there's no way back? And why does your silence drive them crazier than any insult ever could? This is where we step into the first part, the collapse of the power illusion. The collapse of the power illusion. Picture this, for the longest time they believed you'd always be there. No matter the arguments, the temporary breakups, the times they disappeared and came back, you still opened the door. To them, you were like a familiar room, and no matter where they went, they had the key to return. But when you lock that door forever, and not just lock it but throw the key into the ocean, what happens? The entire illusion of power, the thing they relied on to feel invincible, shatters in an instant. You see, a narcissist never views love in its purest sense. To them, love is tied to power. They love you as long as you remain under their control. Every sweet word, every promise, even those moments where they seem remorseful, it all serves one goal: to maintain the upper hand. When that power disappears, they feel like their last layer of armor has been ripped away. It's an ego shock. They can no longer control your reactions. They can't just call to see if you'll pick up. They can't make you feel guilty to pull you back in. And here's the truth. They are not sad because they lost you as a person. They're terrified because they lost their source of power, the supply that's been feeding their ego for so long. In that moment, 100 questions start echoing in their head. Amy, did this happen? What made them strong enough to leave? Is someone else behind this? But remember, these questions aren't about understanding you or becoming a better person. They're tools to find a crack, a loophole, a chance to flip the game back in their favor. And when they realize there is no crack, no way back, fear turns into obsession. This is where we step into the second phase. They start spiraling into an obsessive loop about you. How obsession begins. When every door is shut, the narcissist's mind shifts into a familiar yet dangerous mode: obsession. And this isn't the romantic kind of obsession, the I miss the good times stuff you see in love movies. No, this is a dark investigation, a dissection of every detail locked inside their memory. They start asking relentless questions. What made you strong enough to say no? And how could you dare to leave them? Did someone else give you that strength? But don't get it twisted. These questions don't come from remorse or any genuine desire to change. Their only purpose is to find a weakness, a crack in your wall that they can exploit. And when they can't find satisfying answers, they start taking action. Not directly, of course, because they know you won't respond. Instead, they choose the indirect route, secretly stalking your social media through hidden accounts, using mutual friends or acquaintances to accidentally gather information about you, sending vague, ambiguous messages just to test if you'll still react. Every move has one goal: to soothe the sting of their wounded ego, because to them, your silence is like a mirror reflecting the truth they hate most. They no longer have power. Here's the irony: the more they try to control, the more control they lose. The harder they try to insert themselves back into your life, the clearer it becomes. They're completely shut out. And at this point, obsession is no longer temporary, it becomes an endless loop. The feeling of losing control, ego crisis. Do you know what makes a narcissist break down the fastest? It's not criticism, it's not being exposed as fake, it's the feeling of absolute loss of control. In their mind, every relationship is like a stage. You're the actor, they're the director. Every word you say, every move you make is supposed to follow the script they wrote. But when you walk off that stage without warning, the entire play collapses. And they panic. Without you, who am I? That question shakes their ego to the core, because they've never truly built their self-worth on honesty or integrity. Everything was just a mask, held together by admiration and the power they imposed on others. And now, that mask has fallen. They can't stand this emptiness, so they'll do anything to fill it. Sometimes by smearing you, spreading lies to protect their image, or they'll rush to find a new supply, someone who can give them that sense of power again. But here's a truth they'll never admit. Even with someone new, they still compare. They still wonder, is this person as easy to control as the last one? Do they make me feel as powerful as before? And if the answer is no, the obsession with you becomes even more bitter. This is why they can't let go even long after you've disappeared from their life, because in their eyes, you're not just an ex, you're the symbol of failure, a failure their ego can never accept. Silence, the ultimate weapon. There's one thing everyone who's dealt with a narcissist eventually realizes. Arguing with them is like pouring gasoline on a fire. The more you react, the more fuel they have to keep their power game alive. But when you go silent, when you stop texting, stop replying, and leave no trace of emotion, that's not just silence, that's a fatal blow. Picture this: you used to be the centerpiece on their chessboard. Every move you made confirmed their sense of control. Anger, tears, explanations, every reaction, whether positive or negative, fed their ego. But when you pull your pieces off the board, when you refuse to play, the entire game suddenly becomes meaningless. This is why silence drives them insane, because silence equals a total loss of control, and that hits their deepest fear: being forgotten, being erased from your life. So what do they do when this happens? Some will try to fast-track a comeback, sending apologetic texts, making grand promises to change, even staging dramatic stories like being sick or getting into an accident, anything to grab your attention again. When that fails, they switch tactics, spreading rumors, smearing your name, or flaunting fake happiness with someone new just to provoke a reaction. But when you remain silent, when you stay firm, their entire script becomes a performance with no audience. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than realizing every trick they've mastered no longer works. Silence is not weakness, it's the strongest declaration you can make. I'm out of this game, and I'm never coming back. Have you ever seen a narcissist jump into a new relationship right after a breakup? On the surface, it looks like a bold statement. I'm fine, I'm happy, I've forgotten you. But the truth? It's nothing like that. This isn't healing, it's survival strategy. When they lose control over you, they need a new source of supply to fill the void. The new person isn't about love. They're a lifeline, an oxygen tank for an ego that's gasping for air. The faster they find someone new, the more they can convince themselves they still have power. But here's what they'll never admit. No matter who they're with, your name keeps echoing in their mind, not because they love you, but because you did something they never imagined. You stripped away their power, and that makes you an indelible mark on their ego. They start comparing. Is this person easier to control? Do they make me feel as important as before? And if the answer is no, their obsession with you only grows. In fact, this very comparison sparks anger, not at you, but at the reality that you set a standard they can't replicate. The irony? They might work overtime to project an image of perfect happiness just to make you jealous. But deep down, they know. If this new person were truly enough to erase the memory of you, they wouldn't need to fake it so hard. And here's the critical moment. When they realize that no matter how many people they try to replace you with, the void you left remains unfilled, not because you're flawless, but because you're the one failure they can never undo. The price of never going back. There's one truth you need to lock into your mind. When you stand firm in your decision, you're not just protecting yourself in the present. You're breaking the toxic cycle a narcissist depends on to survive. Think about it. If you reopened that door, what would happen? The old loop starts again. Sweetness, control, pain, fake remorse, back to square one. You wouldn't just be handing power back to them, you'd also be helping them avoid facing themselves. But when you say enough and stick to that boundary, you create the one thing they fear most. A real ending. This isn't a temporary breakup, it's not a cooling off period before reconciliation. This is a final, irreversible close. A reality their mind was never prepared to face. The cost for them isn't just losing you. The real price is losing the illusion that they're invincible, that their power is permanent. And when that illusion shatters, they are forced to confront a truth they've spent their whole life running from. They are not all-powerful, and they can't control everything. That's why they obsess over you so much, not because you're their one true love, but because you've become the symbol of a failure they can't swallow. Having lived with you for so long, your power doesn't lie in making them regret losing you. It's not about proving how important you were to them. Your real power is in your silence, in your ability to walk away without explanation, and in refusing to let anyone define your worth. When you step out of their game, you're not just leaving a toxic relationship, you're stepping into a new chapter of your life, one where peace is no longer something you have to beg for or bargain over. Remember this, your silence is the loudest declaration. It says, "I choose myself, I choose peace," and "I don't need your validation to feel valuable." And to a narcissist, that hurts more than any words of blame ever could. If you ever doubt yourself, just look at where you are now. You've held your boundaries. You've broken free from a cycle so many people never escape. That speaks volumes about your inner strength. Ask yourself this, do you really want to go back to a game where you already know the ending? Or do you want to keep moving forward on your journey of rediscovering yourself, a life where peace isn't traded for tears? If today's message resonates with you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss more content to help you understand psychology, heal, and reclaim your true power. You deserve a life of freedom, peace, and wholeness, and that journey begins with one decision: never go back to the place where you were broken.